I'm pretty sure the sand wedge in that set was illegal. There was an Welcome back to the 10 by 40 project. Today we're going to be talking about my history with golf up until the point that I started this project. So for me, unlike a lot of people I know, I did not have any close family members that played golf and got me into the game. So it wasn't until I was 14 and it was the summer before I was going into high school, and I decided to get a job at a local country club as a caddy to make a little money during the summer. Through caddying, I got bit by the golf bug, saved up my tips from caddying, went out to the sporting goods store, bought a starter set of golf clubs, which was not a great set. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty sure the sand wedge in that set was illegal. There was an insert in the face that was designed to add more backspin onto the ball. So I'm pretty sure the USGA would say that's non-conforming. But I enjoyed playing golf. I would go out to a couple of local municipal courses and play with one of my friends who was into golf. And for me, for 18 holes on a regular par 72 course, I was shooting about 120 to 130. So I was horrible. I had a horrible slice, but I enjoyed it. So I'd go out and play every now and then for fun, just hang out with my friends. It was a great time. Got into high school. I went from caddying to working as a lifeguard, so that cut into a lot of my golfing time. And then my brother also got into the game when I was in high school, and so he'd go out and play with my friend and I. And so it would be the three of us out there having a great time. Also, while I was shooting 120 to 130, my brother was shooting 140 to 150. So I enjoyed that because even though I'm horrible at golf, I know at least one person who's worse than me, and it's my little brother. So with the sibling rivalry, it always felt good to get the win over him. And then after high school, went to college. Really didn't golf a lot during college. And then after college, started working. Started playing with my friends a little bit here and there again. And I started playing in my fraternity's alumni golf outing every year, because there's a great chance to go see some of my fraternity brothers that I went to college with, as well as get to meet some of our alumni and get to know some of the alumni actually who I'd met while I was inactive even better. Also started playing with some people that I worked with. And I played here and there, just never really played a lot or took the game too seriously. I had started to kind of modify the golf clubs that I had. I started to modify that set by one of the first things I did was my brother had a driver that he was no longer using. I switched that out for the driver I had in my bag because it was easier to hit. It was actually a Cleveland Monster high launch. Then I, of course, switched out that sand wedge pretty quickly for a Ping I2 sand wedge from a golf club set that I'd found along the side of the road. My brother had taken all the Ping I2 irons, though, so at least I got the sand wedge out of that set. And those were actually the irons that he was playing with on a regular basis. But I was also married, didn't have as much time to golf, and I just played a couple times a year. And that's when I started to notice my brother had improved at golf, and he was now shooting about the same as me or even better. Then, right before I turned 30, I got divorced. And to become a complete cliche, I decided, well, I'm going to be 30 years old and divorced. Let's just go fully into golf being my personality. And I'm just going to play golf as much free time as I have, pretty much. And so on the weekends, I would go out and play golf. And that was when I realized my brother wasn't only a little bit better than me, he was a lot better than me. He'd become friends with somebody that I'm now also friends with, who had been a high school and junior college golfer. And so he helped him out a lot. So he started helping me. Right when I thought I might actually be able to compete with my brother, because I was seeing improvement. I was down from 120 to 130 to 110 to 120, but I definitely thought I could get better. And my brother had actually gotten down to the point where he was shooting in the mid 80s. But it's Michigan. We have winter. We go into the winter, come out the next spring, and my brother has completely lost his swing, struggling to even make contact with the golf ball. And right then and there, he decided to quit golfing and has pretty much stuck to that, other than maybe 2 to 3 times a year. He'll go out and play, doesn't worry about score anymore, doesn't try and actually take the time to improve because, especially with his job, he just doesn't have the time. So I don't have that competition, though I will say right now I'd probably beat him if we played 18 holes match play or stroke play. And I kept working with our friend, and I kept seeing just gradual improvement. There was a great little course by us, which is no longer open, unfortunately. It was actually a 36-hole facility, but a local hospital needed room for a larger facility than the one they currently had, so they bought the golf course and closed the golf course and built the hospital there. Though when you drive by it on the highway, you can still see a lot of what used to be the course is now just open land. And I joke that they should have just built one of the 18-hole courses and let the other 18-hole course open. But I will miss that course. Raisin River was the name of it. It's the first place I broke 100 at. And from there, I just continued to work on improving. And then COVID hit. At first, we were locked down. Then we were allowed to go out and play. And finally, it kind of worked out where I ended up getting laid off from my job because of COVID. So I had time to play, but that was at the same time as my friends who'd been laid off right at the beginning of COVID were getting called back, so I didn't really have anybody to go play with. And then rolling into the next year, I played a couple times in the spring in 2021, but then my daughter was born in June of 2021, so I didn't play the rest of the summer. And then I went out and played a couple days before my fraternity golf outing. I shot a 90. Best round of my life up to that point. I'd had a 95 as my previous best round, as well as a couple 99s. So far and away, best round after having not played in almost 4 months. So I was feeling great. That was kind of the end of the golf season for me, though. Usually was in the fall there. And so rolled into the next year. Wasn't playing really great, but I had back in 2017 when I was getting back into the golf, started listening to a podcast called No Laying Up. And through people I'd met on the No Laying Up message boards who were also in Michigan, we'd created what they call a roost here in Michigan. We had our event coming up. I went and played in that with pretty much zero expectation. We played U of M the day before. I played horribly, but it was also because I had barely touched a club. leading up to that. And that was always my kind of go-to excuse, I'd say, at that point, and even past that point, was, well, of course I'm not good. I don't practice. I had started keeping a handicap. I knew I was in the low 30s handicap-wise, but definitely not a great golfer. So, ended up finishing in a tie for second at that event. Was able to get an invite to No Laying Up's annual Nest Invitational tournament, which I was like, this is awesome. It's a couple weeks after my wedding. My wife and I, we can head down to Florida for our honeymoon, and I can play a little golf. Had it all worked out. Next weekend, went out, shot a 93 with my buddy who had been helping me with my game. We're talking about how much better I was playing and how great I was doing. And then, as happens a lot, that was a day where everything kind of was working. Could not follow that up the rest of the summer. I actually went into the NIT in 2022 with the thought in my head of, well, I qualified. I said I was going to go to this. I'm going to go play. And this will probably be the last time I play golf. Because, like my brother who had lost his swing and quit, I'm probably just going to quit. Like, I've had these rounds where I see the potential, but then I go out so many times and I'm not even close to it, and I'm frustrated. I think this is just going to be it. I ended up having so much fun at the NIT, though, which actually is that pin flag right there. Finished second in my flight, and I really just fell in love with the game of golf again. I didn't play amazing golf, but I played pretty good. And just the being out on the course, playing golf with other people, laughing, joking, having a good time. It reminded me why I fell in love with golf in the first place. And it wasn't always about is today a personal best? No, but it's about just having some fun, being able to relax. And that's what kept me going. I happened to get an invite back to the next NIT, which was awesome. I played better golf that next year. I was still in the 30 handicap range, but it was one where I was definitely seeing I was a little bit more consistent in my game. Went to the 2023 NIT, had another great time. Finished second in my flight again, which was the high handicap flight. And then I sold my house that winter. And I'd owned my house for almost 10 years at that point. Actually, I think it was a little over 10 years when I finally sold it. And I had all this money. And one of the things I decided to do was, I have this pieced together golf set. I'd gone to the Michigan Golf Expo a few times, and because I'd heard from people who also went that, especially if you're looking at the previous model years clubs and you had cash, you'd get some really good deals. So I had all M1 irons, I had an M1 driver, and I was playing pretty decent golf. But also at this time now, it was the start of 2024, and these clubs were from 2017. So these clubs were 7 years old. So let's see what the new technology has. And if I'm already going to spend all this money, why not also take the time to get fit for these clubs? And I'll do another video later on really kind of going more into what's in my bag, because as of right now, I'm still playing all the same clubs. and talk a little bit about the fitting process. But so I got fit for clubs. And one thing that I really saw with getting fit for clubs was, I wouldn't say it dramatically improved my game, but it made my game more consistent. It wasn't, oh, I could go out one day and shoot a 103 and the next day I'm shooting a 123. It turned into a lot more, I was in that 100 to 110 range with my scores. And then as we got towards the summer, it was actually probably the most I've played golf one summer in my life up to that point was 2024. And I broke 100 again for the first time in over 2 years in the middle of July. And I was just playing a ton of golf and I played a lot better, which culminated in going to my third straight NIT, this time in Phoenix, won the high handicap flight, which means I will be going back there. And actually a week after this video is posted, I will be there for the opening day of the NIT, followed by 36 holes on Friday and hopefully another 36 holes on Saturday. So, as I said in the last video, it was that plane ride back from that NIT where I came up with the idea for this project, but it was because I played some pretty good golf there. And that's what started all of this. So hopefully you enjoyed this. I have, as I said, some more videos to come. I'll probably do a what's in the bag because everybody seems to do one of those. And also because then I can kind of talk about the club fitting process and what I thought of it. I have a couple rounds of golf where I filmed almost every shot. I'm going to work on putting those together and kind of talking you through my rounds there and everything. So hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.